Daddy Mac. Dan's 30 years got our way, trading life and markets every day. Rusty's chained to the mines, digging deep day by day. But when Option Omega releases new features, he's free to come out and play. Option Omega, you're trading home, where every move makes you feel less alone.
I was listening to I was listening to a 6-hour podcast last night. Not in one turn.
Okay.
Not in one turn. But it's still going. It's unbelievable to me. But these military guys, they'll get on a podcast and they'll just go for 6 hours. It's a 6-hour podcast. Yeah, wow. It's crazy. And it's a guy named Jocko Willink.
I heard of him.
Navy SEAL, Echelon Front, Jocko Fuel, Jiu-Jitsu, can't pronounce that. And he said, one of the reasons he retired, they said, "Why did you retire?" And he said, basically, I didn't think about my kids much when I was a Navy SEAL. And he's like, some people feel bad about that. He's like, I don't necessarily feel bad about it, but it just became a reality that these kids in my house were getting older. And so he said, basically, like, I was married to the teams. It's interesting to hear a dude just straight away be like, my business came first. They're like SEALs, military guys are the only ones that even think they're allowed to say that. Like, if I said to myself, I'm married to you two. You two are my brothers. Like, this is my family. And my wife's like standing right here. She'd be like, I'm going to murder you.
But don't you think a lot of that? My dad was a Chicago policeman for 40 years in bad neighborhoods. And that was their, he didn't really feel comfortable opening up when he would come home. And I don't blame him. He didn't want to talk about it.
Yep.
But it's only he had this 3 or 4, hi, Rusty. He had 3 or 4 police guys. They would come over. And this was 30, 40 years ago. And what was interesting, just tells you the times. When these police friends would come over, they'd wear a sport coat and a tie just to come over and have a beer and sit. They just, I don't know, they dressed up. But because of what they went through on a daily basis, to come home and to think if you're Delta, you're going to come, I mean, obviously that's top secret. You're going to come home. Your wife says, how was your day? You got about a half hour. This was, I mean, and it's not like, I was at the office and this, these are pretty tough.
Pretty tough stuff. Dan, yeah. I know, and I want to say straight away, Rusty just wanted to hear you talk about police officers. Oh, there he is. Oh, yeah. Dan, you told me this morning you have a Delta story, and I want to hear it.
Yeah, I had a Delta, and this was good because this was from this is actually from a student, and he was, his name's John, he's a heavy backtester with Options Omega. He was in there. You guys may know him, John Crow. He's a sergeant, great guy, disciplined. And so he watched the show yesterday. And he sends me an email because I know, filling in a few details. Now, again, this is coming from an Army guy. You ready?
Sure. Yeah.
Here it is. Happy New Year. Watch the show yesterday. You can, as a civilian, enlist in the Navy as an SO, special operator, and after boot camp, go to BUDS. And if you get through all that, become a SEAL, although the dropout rate is extremely high. He put this in big capital letters. You cannot, as a civilian, join Delta. First, you have to join the Army, rise to the rank of E4 minimum, which can take years to be even allowed to put in a packet to go to selection. They typically only pick about 100 guys twice a year. out of a force of about 450,000 active Army personnel. Of the 100 or so that show up for selection, they only pick a few each class, and those then still have to go through the training. To even get to the selection process for Delta is orders of magnitude more difficult than to try and join the SEALs. I like the competitiveness. There are layers and then layers on top. For Army, it's Rangers and Special Forces, and a large portion of Delta comes from those two groups. For the Navy, it's the SEAL teams. Then above that is SEAL Team 6, which is its own selection process, similar to Delta. So that helped me for someone who is too interested in this to begin with. Now it gives me more information and a little clarification. But you could see a little bit of that in there. And I'm sure if we had a Navy SEAL out there, he'd have his own special that why the SEALs maybe. But, you know, they're both the elite of the U.S.
Well, this is the thing in my mind that, like, and listening to Jocko, it's made me realize that, like, and my buddy does this too.
Is Jocko SEAL or Delta?
SEAL.
Okay.
It shows me that, like the early on days are the competition. But the more you get up the leadership ladder, I've heard what, like, Jocko say, basically, like, there's some killers in Delta. There's some killers in SEALs. There's, like, the idea of leadership saying, like, it's, you know, like, we're one brotherhood, you know, like we do different things. And
you sound like Hulk Hogan, brother.
Yeah, that's right, brother. My buddy, I mean, I just to finish our Delta thing, and then we need to move on to eggs. My buddy, I asked him last year, 3 years ago at this point. I said, hey, I messaged him. I was like, hey, I'm getting into rucking. Now, this is embarrassing when you talk to a guy who's an elite, you know, I'm not going to talk too much about it, but he's an elite military guy, been in it 20 something years at this point. My best friend growing up. I said, hey, buddy, I'm getting into rucking. And I thought he was going to laugh and be like genial and all that stuff. He was like, that's a great exercise. I encourage you to do it. Wow. I was like, any advice? He's like, take care of your feet. It really, really sucks when you are trying to ruck and your feet hurt. There are some things you can do to mitigate that, but I don't think you want to know what those are.
Wow.
I said, wow.
And so you said, please tell me. That's very intriguing.
No, I said, yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes. Sir.
So, I mean, listen, this is like the CO office. I mean, officer class, flag officer class. We got Dan Sheridan, the admiral. We got, what's funny too, is I have no idea what half these names mean when they're like, is the skipper bigger than the admiral? I don't think so. Is the commandeer bigger than the admiral? I think so. Maybe.
I know. Just to go, Troy, from I get confused from, okay, you take what's between a general and a guy out of the academy. There's so many things.
There's like E1 through 5. Anyway, like obviously Dane's the admiral.
I don't know about that.
Now I would like to think I'm the skipper, whatever that means. Again, I don't know if that's how low that is. I just like the name. Obviously, Rusty's Master Chief.
Master Chief.
I'm more the cook.
And Matt trying to cook up how to get your mic working. That's the and then Matt obviously, I mean, I think whatever the most dangerous man in the military is.
Have you seen this meme of there's a meme going around on the Twitter of this guy who's a real I don't know how to describe him other than like very happy and normal looking older gentleman with a bunch of stars, and it's like the meme of the most dangerous man you know, and it's this guy's face. It's definitely not me, by the way. I was gonna go for the cook as well, but
well, listen, I think you guys are awesome, and I want to shout out. I want to just jump into a test today. I'm gonna say I've got to jump on a meeting right at 9:30, so I'm gonna shut it early today. But I think when we're talking about special forces, when we're talking about the elite level, I'm going to go ahead and give a man his credit where he's due. One of the research army who's risen through the ranks, because I just want to show you a test that almost like if I had enough time, might have gone into the small account challenge. And that's
Another one.
I'm talking about Delta Force Navy SEAL agent Stephen V.
There it
Stephen
is.
V. I'm slowly compiling. I was
Legend.
looking through. I've got some Stephen V. tests compiled at this point because he's done enough missions. He's done enough deployments in the Army to compile quite a bit of a list here. So he sent me this, and I thought it was interesting. And I said, basically, I'm not going to put it in the portfolio because I didn't have time to see how this was going to relate to everything else in the portfolio. But it's on reserve, and it could be called up at any time. So I figured it might be worth talking about. And if you're tired of talking about military strikes, this is probably only beginning. This is probably going to last a couple months. Guys, this is Stephen V's Q's. This is a 1-8. Now, Matt, Rusty, Dan, I have never seen you guys talk about a 1-8 before. Initial thoughts.
I'm still digesting it.
My
It's a
initial
1-8.
thought. Sorry for the terrible mic. Can you hear me at all?
Oh, yeah.
Trench.
Yeah.
Okay. My initial thought is that this is essentially. I mean, I got to be careful with what I say. It's probably going to behave pretty similar to a condor in the sense of what you're really doing here is you're selling a 20 delta 1 DT on both sides, but then instead of buying wings that are further out, right, to reduce your risk, you're buying further out in from the money, right, like you would with the condor normally. You're just doing a calendarized version instead, which is going to be a lot more friendly to your buying power, to be honest, than a super wide condor. So that's essentially what you're doing. I mean, it's a straight. I'm guessing that when you enter this, there's quite a bit of theta to burn off because of the difference, right? You're going to want all that short theta to burn off while retaining, obviously, the eight day out, which since you're exiting, it looks like you're getting in the morning. The times are a little weird, like 9:45, 10:30, and then 10:55. So
he's tranching it, but you can take off a time and it still works.
No, yeah, they're just because they're not ordered. They're disordered
Sure.
the 3 times, which is kind of funny to me. But anyway, you exit the next day, right, before power hour. So you're in the morning after the news, but before anything, before lunch, and you're out the next day at power hour. So it's really just a 1-day play where you're hoping that all of that 1-day premium bakes off, right? When you get to the 0 day, you definitely don't want much movement. You're allowing it to go pretty far in the money, though. 5 points on Qs. Yeah. So anyway, that's my main thought. Obviously, you're looking here similar even to a condor in that your average winner is less than your average loser, but your win rate's about 67%. So similar probably to selling premium. I mean, that's what I would say. People have talked about this in the past. Like instead of doing condors and credit spreads, just do calendars. Like a lot of, people will do a 0-1, a 0-2 to proxy this. This is just a 1-8, which is going to be a little less gamma-y, right? So you're going to get a little less swingy. Anyway, that's my main thought on it.
I got to address this real quick because Tom just put it in the chat. Tom said, Troy forgot about my overnight 1-8 trade of the year, and my heart is broken. And
Wow.
I want to just acknowledge there's a chance. Extreme ownership. Shout out Jocko Willink. That's my fault.
Extreme ownership.
It's nobody's fault but mine.
He's owning it. Okay.
It's nobody's fault but mine, and I will take the blame for that. Now, let me give some encouragement.
What kind of penance will you do to get back in his good graces?
Tom, I mean, I wouldn't give him a lot of options. Are we going to be part of a team or not?
Ooh,
are you going to be able to recover from this? Are you going to be able to get your head back?
I love when he comes close like
this?
that. I love when he comes close.
So, all right. Anyway,
Right, can I make a quick statement
please.
on that?
Please.
I like the 60. I mean, I wouldn't expect that high of a 67.3. What is that? The win rate. I mean, it is 20 delta each side. I could expect a decent probability. I didn't expect that high. But to me, this all comes down to this is a Vega play. I mean, you're long more volatility, right? Because you're 8 days out versus your 1 day. I think you have room, like as Rusty said, this first thing I thought of, you're giving quite a bit of room past the shorts, right? So to me, you've got some room on the price end. It's in that middle of the graph. When Troy showed the graph in the modeling, when you're doing a 20 delta, you're basically giving up the middle, right? You're giving the middle to get more room, which is fine. And if you said to me, would you be comfortable in this environment, this type of a trade? You know, with VIX, I don't know what the volatility in Qs, but with VIX at 15, as Sylvester Stallone would say, absolutely, right? Because really, that's where the sensitivity, like Rusty was saying, you're letting the shorts bake off, but you're hoping the longs behave themselves, right? And at 15 or 14, I'm willing to take that risk. If we were a higher vol, I'd be I'm thinking a little bit about it. But yeah, this seems like a real 60. Does that seem high to you guys, Rusty, Matt, and Troy? 67.3. Does that seem, or would you have thought that based on that? Seems
I think that sounds about right, probably because it's given so much room to mean revert, right? So, I mean, 5 points, if you 10x this on the index, right, that would be like a 50-point move in SPX. That's a lazy approximation, but it kind of works. And so that's a lot of room to run. My guess is that if you were to narrow that a bit, right, give it less room to run, your win rate would drop, but your average loser would also probably drop, right? And so I don't know if it would probably be a slightly worse trade because Qs can move a bit more than SPY, right?
Yeah.
They're a bit more, memey because of all the tech crap in there. That's kind of my thought, though. Yeah, I think it's high simply because of that, Dan, because the only exit condition is time and those put and call tested. So
okay.
So you could probably mess with it a bit.
Yeah. Matt, what do you think here?
Yeah, at first, my first thought was, I saw the capture rate and I was like, ugh, capture rate, ugh. But here's the thing, Rusty's framing of it, thinking of it, maybe in some ways a little less like a traditional DC and more like a IC, is interesting. And the other thing is, because it's a 1-8, you can kind of gauge that the pricing of this is going to be, if you just think about what you're doing, you're buying 8 days and selling 1 days. So it's going to be more expensive than a lot of Q calendars. For instance, the Q calendar we just talked about yesterday, and we put out the video on just the other day, is a fraction of this price. So when your cost is more expensive, obviously a smaller win rate is not crazy because it's a bigger cost that you're working with, or smaller capture rate. It's a bigger cost you're working with. It's just an interesting concept. I'm just kind of noodling it around a little bit. I think I'd want to look through at the potential for some of the big losers. And, the winners and losers on average are pretty close together. You're just, it really does in some ways function, kind of test out a little bit more like a condor in some ways, which is super interesting. As you pointed out, Dan, a condor and a double calendar are maybe not kissing cousins, but maybe second cousins. They're both connected with a short strangle.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I'm switching back to all four of us, but I shouldn't. One of the things that, looking at it, we should answer this question. Thank you, Detective, because we said we were going to answer this question today, and it fits the thing. So 2 things with this. No, nay, 3 things, as is in Proverbs. It's my favorite thing when I love in Book of Proverbs. It's like 6 things, actually 7. I think, one, the biggest risk to this isn't getting blown out. The biggest risk, in my opinion, and again, whether the data shows it or not, just from a pure theoretical standpoint, is you're buying a lot more Vega. You got a lot more Vega, right? So you got an 8-day and you got a 1-day. Well, if there's a crush, you did. Ain't nothing happening. There's no salvaging it, anything like that. Now, two, to the point of the win rate being so high, just doing a cursory glance, a bunch of those were like $4 winners because there's no exit point. So you're just getting out at the time. So it's like you win 5. So that's why the high win rate, the win rate almost doesn't have anything to do with the profit factor. 2, 3, no 3. We'll see what happens with this. I mean, again, this is a reserve. This is in the reserve. So we would see how this worked with the portfolio to see if it ever went in. But one thing, Stephen, we'd have to optimize it because Stephen was very honest and said the 5, the in the money 5 rails were just what I had used in the 1428 DC, and he hadn't tried to optimize them. So there would be some optimization in there. Still trying to get as much occurrences as you could. But finally, and let's spend the final couple minutes on this. There was a question yesterday about assignment risk in queues, and particularly pertaining to like small account challenge, really anytime you're trading queues. So, fellas, how do we think about assignment risk in queues? How do we mitigate that? What happens if it happens? Because there you can mitigate it all you want, but there's some weird stuff that happens in the market, and I never want to downplay that it's possible. Yep. It's definitely possible that you could get assigned.
It is both a pro and a con to trade DCs in a assignable versus a European versus American style option. And the thing about the test yesterday that was asked, but it's also true about this one, is you are closing them before power hour. So this is going to vary per broker. So it's going to be different, but as a general rule of thumb, if you close the back test, if you close the trade, if you close your short further enough, early enough in the day on the day of expiration, if it's even if it's in the money, that's what the brokers are looking for. They don't want you holding it until the wee minutes before close. So anecdotally, I can say that we have had tons of people trading SPY and Q, condors and other things where they're short minutes until the close. And so these back tests all have had a safety margin of an hour, hour and a half, etc. So cool dude, are you dropping ChatGPT on us? I think you are. According to ChatGPT, this is from the chat. If you buy a calendar and your short has early assignment, if you don't have the capital to buy, sell QQQ, they will exercise the long, thereby closing the trade. Yes, that's kind of just what I said. And the reason that these tests have an early exit is that what that comment isn't addressing is that there's a factor of time. And the other thing, Troy, is there's also a factor of how deep in the money are you? If you're 10% deep in the money, you're probably going to have a different experience with your broker versus if you're on the line. So what do you think, guys?
I think that the number one thing is because call your broker, because different these days, they're all different. And I think you get, you call the person up. Like I think at Tasty Trade, a friend of mine from the pits, just because I know Tom's watching and I had to mention that, Peter Klink, no relation to, you remember Hogan's Heroes? Klink! Do you guys ever watch that?
Dan, I'm afraid you're approaching the different time. Yeah, Rusty's gone.
Rusty left after I mentioned Klink.
Yeah.
But anyways, if you call Peter Klink, they have different how they handle that. And I think if you're trading and you're thinking about the assignment, even if you have the right thought process, check with your broker, because I guarantee you, as the Cajun cook back in the days would say, there's differences, and you get the right person on the phone who's head of that department, and I'm sure it's different, right? I mean, to
Yes.
me, it shouldn't be. And again, I always think like in a stock, when you get assigned on a stock, you check with the broker, because see, to me, that would be my nightmare. They're going to exercise the long call that's oozing with premium. I'd rather be stabbed with a fork than have them exercise my long option, because it's like, you're giving all that premium. So, it's because, again, obviously, if you get it, like, let's say you have a buy rate and you get assigned or you get assigned on the short. Well, you just tell your broker in the morning, hey, I don't have $100,000 in the account to buy the stock. So what am I going to do if I get assigned on the short stock? I'll buy in the stock and sell out my long call.
Right.
But yeah, I would make sure I just get the heebie-jeebies thinking about someone exercising the long call of something with some decent time premium in it. I mean, you're basically giving a check. You're giving a check to the other person, right? So, and I think these brokerage firms, just like, it's getting screwier with the compliance departments, right? I mean, when you guys told me with the DC situation that even Tasty,
that was years ago now, I think, at this point, like
yeah,
a year,
the
year and a half, 2
Tasty's
years ago.
changing or some of these
all of them are, pretty
Yeah.
much. They're all looking at these spreads differently.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the margin, what I've always loved with mixed month spreads, your margin on a DC or a calendar, your debit shouldn't be more.
Yeah.
So if they're charging you 1.5 times that, you're like, wait a second, that's my risk. But then they pull, well, what if you let this expire and then you keep this? And I'm like, wait a second.
Right? I had this happen. So when I remember Rusty was 4 feet from me. I came into the office one morning, 8:30. Now, I didn't have any money. I mean, this is 10 years ago, whatever. And I had just started trading, and I did a poor man's covered call. So I had a farther out Qs that was in the money, and I had a Qs shorter contract that was a little bit out of the money. End of day rally, it touched, didn't realize it. I come into the office, and because Q's closed at 4:15, I didn't have any parameters. We didn't have a backtester, so it moved after hours. I think it's an earnings thing. Come in, check my email, margin call. Now, I didn't have any money. I want you to understand that. I want to be honest with you. I had no money. I was a lowly software developer, and so I was scared to death. I get on, and it was Tasty, to be honest. I got on Tasty. I got on their chat because as a Gen X or Gen Z or whatever Gen I am, I too hate talking to people. Like whenever Dan says, just call them, there's that part of me, the younger person in me that's like, talking to people. So I got on chat, and they were very, very calm, very reassuring. And they basically said, if I remember correctly, this is how it played out. They said, we're going to close your long. Okay.
Yeah.
And we have to wait till the market opens. But once the market opens, we're going to close all this for you. Okay. So I want to just display I want to try to like scare people, but kind of reassure people, which is a hard thing.
Were they going to close the long the next day, you mean?
Well, this was the next morning.
So it was the next morning. I got you.
So
okay, that's fine. Yeah.
So every brokerage is different. Hear us what we're saying. And so every brokerage is different. Every brokerage can handle this. I think personally what good brokerages do is they close this stuff for you. Now, you don't want to be in a situation where you're doing this all the time because you're going to piss off the brokerage and you don't want to make your brokerage mad. But normally they don't want to flag you as the type of guy who's doing this stuff or the type of lady who's doing this stuff. But basically what's going to happen is they're going to close it for you because they don't want any risk. They're just going to close the risk.
Right.
That's what they're trying to do. In this case, I made a little bit more money than I would have normally because the market continued to rally overnight and I was long that call.
Okay.
And so the guy was like, it worked. It could have gone the other way and I'd be down a little bit more. The premise is in backtesting, we want to try to get out. We want to try to mitigate all normal risks. So basically the way this works is if you're automating something, the goal is to get out at the appropriate time, right? That honestly fixes 95%, 96, 97% of all issues.
Absolutely.
Close the short early. Now, there are weird things with American options where some dude just randomly might be like, I want that Q. And in fact, I've learned recently that it doesn't even have to be in the money.
Yes,
That's right.
that's
So-
true. You can,
so-
if you're short an option, it can be exercised at any time.
That's right.
Yes. But the capital allocation, cool. The point is the capital allocation, yes, it will technically be a margin call, but the education is so important. If you guys remember a couple of years ago, a guy in Robinhood basically killed himself because he didn't understand that he wasn't.
Spread.
When you open your account and you see negative 65,000, you think you lost 65,000. That's not how it's working in options land. They're going to close that risk basically at the point. Basically, you were assigned to say $65,000 worth of stock. And so you don't have 65,000. So the margin looks like it's negative 65,000. You have to talk to your brokerage at that point because they're going to explain to you basically that you just have to close that position.
Right.
Yeah,
And-
you're not at any. I mean, here's the thing to just relax a little bit about. In most cases, you get assigned on something. Your deltas aren't bad. There's not a ton of risk there. It's just what gets everybody worked up is the margin call. And it, depending on the price of the stock, it could be substantial, but that could be corrected. You don't have, a ton of market risk here, right? You have a long and you have a short. Obviously you got to deal with it, but it's so important is Troy, Matt, Rusty, you're saying to check with your brokerage and don't assume, right?
Check with your brokerage.
Don't ever assume because it is so different with different brokers. And most of, is what Troy said, most will work with you. They're not out to, they want you to stay as their customer, right? So they want to, most of them want to help you. Wouldn't you say? I mean, it's a positive experience.
100%. And again, we're talking about it like, well, that's why we should trade SPX. Well, let's just think through this for a second. Let's say, and you should never do this, and I don't care who you are, and I don't care how big you are and how wise you are. We will never on this show tell you to sell naked premium. That's just our thing. We're never going to say naked premium. So, but let's say you did. Let's say you like, well, you guys are idiots. And you sold, let's say you somehow let's say because the margin, you sold a SPX put and you bought premium like 100 points away. Okay. And let's say there's a flash move and your short goes 50 points in the money and expires. Okay. And let's say they screwed up their margin and they let you do it, which they should never let you do it. But let's just pretend this game that they let you do it. Well, the next day, you're actually going to see a debit, and here's the problem: you're not going to see any. You're not going to see any stock. You're not going to see any resources in your account. You're only going to see the debit. So here's the thing, and I've been through this as a new trader, trading equities. No one wants to open up their brokerage and see negative account and then a margin call in their email. No one wants to see that, right? That's the first thing. It's a terrible feeling, immediate panic. No matter how well-seasoned you are, immediate panic. Number two, this is clear your mind. Look at your brokerage. Do you have stock in your account? Okay. That means that they can sell that and you might lose some money on it or gain some money on it, but you have the resource of the underlying that was assigned to you. That's the difference between equities and index. The fear, the thing that's the Armageddon is when it's the negative balance and there's no resources in your account. That's when you're in trouble, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that was great. I mean, two things just to kind of put a bow on it, unless you guys have any other thoughts. Number one, I think Cool Dude made a point that is worth mentioning, which is, people look at SPY and think this is a fraction of SPX notional, and that's true. But people forget how much money one of these contracts is in notional. So I'm just going to use round numbers here, but let's say you have $100,000 account, which is not a small account, and you're selling, I can sell 2 SPX calendars, or I'm going to scale down and sell 15 SPY calendars on a $100,000 account. The notional on that is still multiple times what $100,000 is. SPY, what are we at in SPY right now?
I want to say 85,000.
690.
So, I mean, you're talking almost 70K for a single contract.
Right.
So that's thing one. Thing two, if you're really interested in this topic, on our YouTube channel, we have an interview with Peter from Tasty Trade. And he actually says on that interview that they would prefer people, and this is just one guy from one broker, but he is kind of the guy at that broker. They would prefer people sell time spreads on assignables rather than index cash settled because of what we're talking about. Because, if it does go, we've talked about this before, if you have a calendar on SPX and it goes super deep in the money, there is not a market maker who's going to do you a favor getting out of that. If you have a calendar on a assignable like SPY or QQQ, an American style option, and it goes deep in the money, you have a long leg that can be exercised, whereas an index doesn't work that way. So if you're interested, if any of this sounds like Greek, but you're interested in Greek, check out Peter Klink's interview on our channel.
Listen, we've got more missions to do today, but I think we gave Rusty a lot to think about. And that's my goal every day, is just to give Rusty a lot to think about.
I will be able to work all day. I'll just ponder mysteries of
ponder.
QQQ assignments and
Just going out. He's going to be like that. Who was the drug pictures that everybody sends all the time? The guy bored in the pool. Who was the drug cartel?
The guy, yeah. Just sitting there on like a swing or whatever.
Escobar. Yeah. So listen, we got big stuff ahead of us. We got more stuff coming out next week. Again, just put it out there real quick because it's easier on video. I know a lot of people have asked, hey, where'd the video go? We deleted the small account challenge video as we said we were going to do. But fear not, there's a lot more videos coming out in its place, and those will be out Tuesday. So I'm going to jump back in and go from there. Brian's in the world. Brian has taken the Punisher class, and he's learning at a pace that we all consider impressive. So and I'm working out again today. And today, listen, I've been eating so much protein. I mean, I'm carb loading.
How many eggs have you had already?
Yeah, how many grams? Like, how much is so much? Are you like 200?
I hope you're all in on the new food pyramid that the government just released.
Drinking. I've been drinking since like 5 a.m. Yeah.
This is going to be its own segment on a show. We can't add this in at 9:24.
Sorry, guys. I came in hot there. Yeah.
We need to do an options position pyramid. That's what we need to do one day.
DCs are at the top. Heavy
DCs are at the DC.
But I will say, I mean, just for
butterflies.
You guys are like, Troy, that Troy's cute. He's trying to work out. That's cool. I think I did like 350 grams of protein yesterday.
Oh my.
What?
I mean,
300?
Bro,
that's 10 shakes.
Yeah.
I think you've gone too far.
Wow.
That is, yeah.
Wait till
this is the comment. This is the comment right there.
Wait till the steroids.
Grams.
Wait till the steroids kick in. All right, guys, listen. I hope you guys have a great rest of your trading day, and we will see you Monday. Bye-bye.